We're thrilled, both as a company here at Google Ann Arbor and me personally, to welcome one of Detroit's most high-profile and impactful native sons, Jalen Rose, here to Google Ann Arbor today. Jalen is known by, I would assume, pretty much all of you, but Detroit native, high school at Detroit Southwestern, a schoolboy basketball player who then came to the University of Michigan. Many of you know the Fab Five, where Jalen played with his buddies here in the early 90s. Jalen was then selected in the 1994 NBA draft and had a 13-year career in the NBA. I think one of the topics we'll get into today in some detail is what Jalen has done after his life in the NBA, both the impact and time he spent in Detroit, as well as some of his thoughts on making. Game plan here is I'll ask him questions for the first 30 minutes or so. Get Jalen hopefully to share a little bit about his perspective as a Detroiter who's gone on to stardom. And then we'll make sure to open it up to questions in the second half and take live questions here. We'll have a mic that we'll pass around. Start at the start, give people a little context for you. Many of them know you from your public profile today, but a native Detroiter. You were here at the University of Michigan in the early 90s, which meant you were growing up in Detroit in the 70s and 80s. Maybe you could just give us a little context for your experience growing up, and we'll build towards your observations of how Detroit has changed.
So when you talk about how things have changed from like the 70s and 80s to until now, the dynamic plays no further than through education, because as I described, you can actually have a high school diploma and get a really good job and possibly make six figures. Now you have to have a college degree. That's basic. And so in starting the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, we're a tuition-free public charter high school. We're open enrollment. We have 400 students in the building. We also graduated the last 2 years, approximately 170 students. That 100% of those students went on to post-secondary education, whether it's a university, trade, or military. And being a 9 through 16 model is not just about getting these kids in 9th grade and graduating them from high school. It's actually staying with them and nurturing them through college, because that 8 years to me is the most important 8 years of your life. It's the years where you start to make decisions that can impact your future, but you're so very young. And a lot of times you're making decisions at 17 or 18 that can affect your long-term future. So we're really excited about the progress of the school. And we're committed to try to do what we can to educate as many young people as possible and put them in position to take care of themselves and those that they love.
Great stuff. On behalf of those of us who are educated here in the state of Michigan, thank you for your commitment to education in the state.
Well, the thing that stinks, actually, I saw a statistic that approximately 12% of Detroit area adults have graduated from college. Only 12%. So when we get a lot of our students, and again, I mentioned we're open enrollment, tuition-free public charter. Like, all you have to do is fill out the form. What I'm trying to do is create a private school environment for public school kids where they can all compete in the same collegiate classroom. So unfortunately, in our country, education has now been defined by your zip code. And we can mask and act like it's not happening the way it is, or what type of overtone or undertone that it is, but it does exist. So for those parents like myself that are really fortunate that can put their kids through private school, that investment starts at kindergarten. So basically K through 12, if you're paying $30,000 a year, that becomes an investment. For those that are fortunate enough to move to the suburbs, our country dictates you pay more in taxes, so your school should be better, even though they're public schools. So now if you look at like West Bloomfield, students get $13,500 per student. Plus, for a public school, they also get gifted a building for the students. So in Detroit, on the northwest side, our students get $7,100 per student. So what I'm trying to do is bridge the education gap, so that a kid, in theory, that's getting $7,000 every year invested in their education can compete in the same college classroom as the other two scenarios I just described. And that's the hard work we do every day.
I think our friend Jalen knows his educational policy, huh, guys? I think
I'm the founder of a school.
It's pretty.
I only do a couple of things, but I only do things that I think I'm pretty good at. Like, I don't play golf because I'm not good at it. I don't care about it. I don't eat sushi. I don't know why. I just don't. I don't use emojis. I don't know why I don't.
Figure out what
I'm
you're
weird
good
about
at
certain things.
and go deep.
Yeah.
That's good life philosophy.
Don't get fired.
Don't get fired. There you go. So it strikes me that a lot about this school is about setting up those students for a lifetime of achievement and success. And in part of that, the leadership focus, helping prepare them for transitions. We were talking a little bit earlier, a lot of our audience is early career folks, some of them in their first job. You've been through transitions in a really high profile way, obviously going from high school to college and being on the basketball court and into the pros. You've had situations where you've had a coaching change or something has happened that you've been thrown into a transition, maybe not of your own making. And maybe that's a little bit like those of us here who have a manager change where it just sort of happens to us. Maybe it wasn't our choice. So as you think about your path and your success and how you've tried to instill in those academy students, leadership academy students, the skills to prepare for transitions, reflect on transitions in your life. Any thoughts on career and transitions for this audience? I love that. Pick a couple things and do them really well piece.
Absolutely. Life skills are just important as being educated and how you are able to articulate yourself. And if you think you're not being judged by both of those things and your appearance, you need to wake up, because what you post on social media, the people that you surround yourself with, when people bring you in for an interview, they already know this about you.
Yeah.
It's almost like being a recruit. When somebody comes into my living room, they know everything about me. They know if we live in a cul-de-sac, they know if I have a mailbox or not. They know everything about you before they allow you in. The dynamic that I learned beyond sports is I've actually had a lot of jobs. I was one of the kids that when I was young, and I know times are a lot different now, but I was somebody that when wintertime came, I would shovel the snow in the front yard for $5, front and back for $12, pick an odd number so I can get 15 and keep $3. Or pumping gas at the gas station, carrying bags at the supermarket. What other jobs did I have? I've been a paper boy. I was good too. I would always put the paper in the door every time. Even when it was cold outside.
How early were you doing that?
5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Work starts early.
Yes, indeed. What are some of the other jobs? I just want to share with you that I was a police cadet one summer. I worked at an envelope company, learned how to drive a high-low. I actually have my high-low license. True story.
Right on.
I worked at Dave Bing Steel for a couple of summers.
Yeah.
And this was when I was in high school. So it wasn't like, oh, Dave Bing played with my dad and he's my godfather, so he's looking out for me. It was, I'm on the press and on the line with adults that it's, 5,000 pieces of steel coming down and you got to be meticulous with each one. They don't care anything about your mistakes. Or if you hesitate a little bit or you have to sneeze or scratch your nose, like little things like that can throw off an entire assembly. And so I learned how to be more detail oriented with that. But the one thing you have to learn how to do is just manage relationships, respect others, and just be good at your job. A lot of times in corporate environments, people get more caught up in gossiping and worrying about the opportunities that other people get. Just continue to nurture the relationships. And in sports, it's a little different because normally the person that drafted you or the person that traded for you, well, they are going to probably give you more leeway to succeed because we all have bad days. When the opposite happens, when you're in a position and then there's a management change, you might want to dust off your resume. No, I'm for real. You have to press reset. When the people above you change, you really have to press reset because they didn't hire you, they didn't bring you in, so they're not invested in what you're going to be able to do going forward. So they may not have the type of leash that the person that initially brought you in. So at JRLA, one of the things we talk to young people about is having life skills, social skills. We try to educate them about etiquette and problem solving, decision making, sex, drugs, violence, gang prevention. When you're dealing with high school kids, they have the type of issues that we know exist on a daily basis, good, bad, and ugly.
Good advice. Thank you for that perspective. Some experience from transitions as a professional athlete. That's good feedback for us. So we have your book here. We know you're an author of a book recently, and for those of us who live in a digital world, we'll come to some questions about what it's like to have a digital presence today.
This is actually my second book. I didn't get paid anything for the first one. You guys saw another book that Mitch Albom did on the Fab Five,
yes,
right?
Indeed.
That became a best-selling book.
Yes,
well,
indeed.
I love Mitch, but I'm still trying to get him to come to one of our golf outings. I'm still trying to get him to sponsor a student. Okay, I've done multiple interviews on his platform, and that book was really successful. And I'm happy that it was written and the story got told.
Yeah.
I actually was so upset that it happened, I didn't read that book until 2 years ago. I read that book before I wrote this one. I didn't read it.
Did that motivate you to write this one?
No. I wanted to get the clarity of what he felt about what he was seeing through his eyes as somebody that wasn't necessarily in the foxhole.
Sure.
Versus my story where I know all of the moving parts.
So it's a 15 or 20 year lag between when that came out and when you read it, huh?
Correct. It was a couple of things that the first thing was the Fab Five documentary. And so that came out in 2011, March of 2011. And I felt as the executive producer of the doc that it was time for us to just unleash everything we felt of the scenario. And the next day, just wake up and it's over. And so that was the thinking behind it. I remember reaching out to all of the fellas to be a part of it, and all of the coaches and all of the media members that any of you, if you ever saw the documentary, participated, and including Chris. And so we trying to track him down to get his interview. He got kind of elusive. Then he decided he didn't want to do it. But like I told him, like, whatever you still harboring about that situation, like, you got to let it go. Like, you winning right now. Like, you got a good gig. You have expanded beyond that scenario. I think when you continue to carry that burden, it just kind of becomes something that you can't really escape, and you need to just exhale. But for whatever reason, he chose not to participate. That was a big time mistake. And we continued to go on and do it. It was a successful documentary. It made a couple of people upset, but that's what happens when you tell the truth. But I was excited about the project.
Yeah.
And so this really, for me personally, it was like the documentary, read the Fab Five book by Mitch Albom, and then write my own book. So I was doing a lot of reading and writing. So I can actually do that.
In our world here, we might think of somebody like you from a 21st century digital profile as a content creator. You've created a documentary, you've written a book. Obviously, you spend your profession now with a lapel mic on you.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who's done those sorts of things, what's the biggest surprise for you about writing a book or reflecting on the documentary? When you're getting your voice out there and you have full control, I still imagine a couple bumps along the way and surprises. What surprised you in these processes?
Well, content that you want people to accept, it has to be genuine. Like, people see straight through phony, like straight through it. And so whether it's the documentary, whether it's a book, you want to be authentic. But one thing I actually do that I always pretend I don't do, I actually work hard. I'm serious. I actually.
And why do you pretend that you don't do that?
Well, because it's more fun. and seriously, as a former basketball player, sometimes it's just easier to play the heel. It's just easier. Hey, I ain't doing nothing. Whatever. Ain't no big deal. And show up and know more than everybody, because I've been doing it all morning. So it's something that people don't realize, that at Michigan, my major was radio, TV, film. Communications was actually my major. So I'm probably the only person in here working in their major, right?
Certainly the only one up here who can say that.
Right? Ain't that something, how this works? We go to school all of those years, get a major, and get a job doing something else. But I'm fortunate enough that I actually work in my major. So I also think that gives me an advantage. So while I was playing ball, it was 2000, I was playing in the NBA Finals. I get traded to the Bulls in 2002. I'm like, we're not going to the finals. We only have 9 wins, and it's February. Okay.
As described in the introduction to this book, Jalen's thoughts on that matter.
So I actually did an interview. I know I'm showing my age here. There was BET Mad Sports at the time. And so I did an interview with them. So somebody gave me a card. I kept a business card. I reached out to them, and it was the Lakers and the New Jersey Nets in the finals. And I was like, I got a spot in LA. All you guys have to do is send the camera. I'll edit it. I'll get us the access. I'll do everything. And then if you don't like it, I'll just eat it. If you like it, you pay it. You play it. And so I did it. I did all of the interviews. I got Shaq, I got Kobe, I got Byron Scott, I got Jason Kidd, I got everybody. And so then they liked it, used them to edit it because they got the budget. They got the editing room, okay? So then once they did that, I turned around and pitched that to Fox and the Best Damn Sports Show. So from 2003 to 2007, I was playing in the league, but I was also working for Best Damn Sports Show simultaneously. So I was doing other media gigs along the way.
Seeing both sides of it.
Absolutely. I worked sideline for TNT. I worked with Shaq and, Shaq wasn't there. I worked with Kenny and Charles, ABC when they were doing their halftime with Bill Walton, a lot of ESPN appearances. And so that gave me the experience. So in 2007, when I decided to go full-time in the media, though I was the first-year player removed from the league, I was by far from a rookie in doing media stuff.
Yeah. You got your apprenticeship while you were still doing the main game.
Yeah, this was my 14th, 15th straight year covering the finals for TV.
Yeah.
And there weren't as many outlets, obviously, then as it was now.
Sure.
So there wasn't any NBA TV. Sometimes the games were on NBC. Sometimes the games were on ABC. And that was it. So it was really an ESPN. So it probably was only like 10 or 15 total jobs. It wasn't a lot of jobs.
I love that description of just send me the camera, I can do it. I mean, if that doesn't sound like a viral YouTube video and the way some of our YouTube stars start out, I mean, that's what it is, right? A guy on a camera and I can do this. And one thing led to another in terms of your media presence.
And also, too, it's the ability to multitask.
Mm.
That's the one thing that I think young people should concentrate on doing a better job of. Because, like, as I sit here right now, if you think about what I'm juggling, so this is real time. I'm possibly going to do more episodes of To Tell the Truth. I don't know if you guys saw that on ABC with Betty White and Anthony Anderson. Jalen and Jacoby, which was a podcast 5 years ago. It became a radio show from 7 to 9 Eastern, September 28th. And then they appreciated it so much they made it a television show January 28th. We come on every night on ESPN2 and every morning on ESPN News. It's the off season for the NBA, but I do ABC, ESPN Countdown, in particular on weekends and on Sundays. And obviously we had the NBA Finals, which was a great NBA Final with LeBron James delivering a championship to Cleveland. So beyond that, I'm a dad, I'm the founder of a school, I'm a son, I'm a brother. And so juggling all of those things, you have to be efficient, but also you have to have the ability to multitask. Because a lot of times when you go down one path, a lot of people get stuck. So for me, it was communications, but it was radio, TV, and film.
It's quite an impressive set of off-the-court accomplishments and endeavors you've got going. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll open it up to some live questions here. We were reflecting before this started that, you know, when you were in school in the 90s, in college, for example, in the early 90s, email was just getting going. And
we had a floppy disk.
We had floppy disks. We were writing papers.
And I was determined not to use one for a while for some reason. I was like, I'm not using no floppy disk.
And how far you've come. Now you're the
I was like, I need to use a floppy disk.
Yeah. So it strikes me that there's a huge pivot there over the last 20 or so years. You talked a lot about television and your role in television, but I think one of the things that really makes you the popular public figure that you are is your candor. I mean, you don't need me to tell you this, obviously. You were talking about the importance of authenticity and candor earlier. But with the explosion of digital channels, social media presence, blogs, the digital uploads of your TV productions, how do you think about how to use technology today? Online specifically, you talked a little bit about all your TV endeavors, but I'm sure this group would be interested in a little bit about your thoughts about online, and then we'll open it up to group questions.
That's the one thing in education that, so there are a lot of things that make JRLA unique besides trying to educate young people. We know that if you go to school, you get your grades, you graduate, you put yourself in a position to go off to college and all of that. But there's just an equal portion of a life skill that you have to develop, a leadership, which is in our title. So we have advisory for our students. We also have a leadership course for our students. We have multiple sports and activities for our students to participate in. The one thing that schools and our government do a horrible job of legislating is social media, and how to teach young people to use it to their benefit, not their detriment. That's exactly what I say all day.
And that's what you were talking about earlier. Once it's out there, it's tough to undo.
Correct. And so your social media presence is now the new resume. That's exactly what it is. So what I do with my presence, I make people feel like they're following exactly what I'm doing, but I don't want people to know where I'm at all of the time.
Sure.
I don't necessarily want people to know what city I'm in all of the time. So what I do, I more use social media, either professional or personal. That's it. There was a time where people would say negative comments, I would fire back. Nah, I just block them. Like if somebody even think about saying something negative, block them. but here's why. Your social media is your timeline. So why am I going to have somebody on my timeline disrespecting me? That doesn't make sense. It's almost like you disrespecting me in my home. It doesn't make sense. And it takes so much, negative energy takes so much from you. It just, and so everybody's not rooting for you. Here's another thing on social media. Like everybody's not rooting for your success. Everybody doesn't want you to see you have your dream job, your dream car, see you buy your mom a house. Like everybody does not want that for you. And so a term I got from my sister that I always use is people come into your life for 4 reasons: to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Choose wisely. And that's my approach to social media. I'm giving you the information I want you to have, not the other way around. So I'll go and see what's trending or what, maybe a breaking news story or whatnot. But usually when I'm tweeting something, I'm tweeting to the audience, not necessarily the other way around. I do read my mentions. I do follow what's happening on social media. I was somebody that back in the day, I had a MySpace page. I have a YouTube page. But eventually I remember taking all of the time and energy to make sure my albums and my pictures look right on my MySpace page. And I clicked on it one day, it was gone. Like, I spent so much time and energy on this page. Then when technology changes, it all goes away. So use it as a tool, but not as something that all of a sudden you find yourself muscle memory looking down at your phone 50 times a day, because that takes energy to do.
That's true.
You don't really, just test yourself. Like, how many times am I looking down at my phone today?
I believe we've got stats on that one for you. We
Okay.
can set you up for some folks later today.
And I'm looking at this audience, so let me just say this. Please raise your hand if you have all 3 of these: Twitter, Instagram, and/or Snap.
Twitter, Instagram, and/or Snap.
Right.
Most of the audience.
So just think about it. That's 3 different sites that you're keeping current all day. That's a job. That's really taking your time and energy. That takes a lot of time and energy. The other thing I do with social media, and part of it is my age. I'm getting older, so I can't be doing everything the cool kids do. I don't want to. I know I'm not one.
You might be selling yourself a little bit short there, but that's just my point of view.
So like, I pick and choose the mediums I want to participate in. So when Twitter came out, initially I was like, I didn't want to participate. And I was like, all right, cool. I can get into that. And I did it. When Instagram came, I was like, I'm good. Pictures, I'm good. No, I am good. Picture worth 1,000 words. I don't want people tagging me on pictures sometime. And so when it first came out, I decided I didn't want to be a part of it. And so now when the other things come like Periscope and Snapchat, I already just made my mind, I'm not dealing with them. But I could get the same thing accomplished on Twitter. I could post a video, I could post a message. You can make a longer link now. So I don't have to go to 3 or 4 different sites to get out the same message. And also you're dividing your followers, you're dividing your message. You might have 200 people following you here, 400 people following you here. Like imagine if you were able to consolidate that.
It's back to one of your earlier points about pick a few things and do them really well.
Correct. So that's my approach to social media.
All right. Well, hopefully that provides.
And this is my little brother. I love him, but I have to throw a social media shout because I'm near the University of Michigan. And we saw my brother Draymond Green, the post that he did on Snapchat. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see the picture. Heard it wasn't his best. I heard it wasn't his best work. I didn't see the picture. I'm just saying. So those are the type of things, though, that can see. He's an all-star basketball player. So you know what's going to happen when he does his. He didn't commit a crime. His job's going to say he's one of the best at what he does. No big deal. When does Team USA practice? But that happened to you, you're going to get fired. And so that is the tug of war that truly happens with social media, that you have to be careful. I've been influencing young people via scholarship through public schools since about 2002. We influenced around 40 kids. And really just JRLA became a graduation of that mission. I never thought that I'd be the founder of a charter high school. You guys ever saw me play in college? I know y'all didn't never think I'd be the founder of a charter high school. So now for young people, they unfortunately get a chance to get so exposed to adult situations early. Yeah. The language, the nudity, you go through the guide, boom, dating naked. Like seriously, it's an actual show on television. Like, how can you seriously date somebody naked? You know what I mean?
And we got a whole different set of considerations on these topics as parents today,
right? But behind that is an undercurrent of the young people are listening. So when I was young and my favorite artist cursed, I could just hide the tape from my mom. Well, now it's on the radio. Now they're cussing on television. Now you get a chance to see more nudity and things like that. So you have young people, 8 through 15, being exposed to these situations, and drugs. Also, vaping, smoking, drinking, lean, perks, Zans, everything Future raps about. Whatever Future raps about. Right? Whatever he raps about. And so now you throw that in. So you got social media, you have what they're being exposed to, and now you have a young mind, just 16 years old, like just so much happening. And so now you throw social media in there, that becomes the volatile cocktail.
Indeed it does. Social media and do's and don'ts from Jalen Rose. How good is that, huh? All right, we're going to open it up to questions from the live audience. A couple of things that I loved. We've got a mic that will start circulating here. A couple of pearls of wisdom for Jalen that really resonated with me. Find a couple of things you do really well and do them really well. Have fun. Maybe have a lot of fun, but then not hard work. I like that play the heel comment. And then make it happen. Mm-hmm. I loved the send me the camera line. To me, that was so representative of the power of digital today. Just send me the camera and I can do it, and I will prove it to you. And look at what's happened since in terms of Jalen's broadcasting career. And then I love the advice from your family member about 4 reasons people are in your life. There's add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Choose those folks wisely as you think about who you want to let in and how they're going to influence you. So with that, to paraphrase the title of your book, let's give the people what they want. Enough about my questions. Let's go to the audience.
Hi, Jalen. We actually have a lot of former teachers, surprisingly, in this office.
Oh, great.
And then we also have, I know a ton of people with a heart for the surrounding
We're
community.
looking for a forensic teacher and an algebra teacher. Founder of a school.
What I was specifically wondering is, are there any partnership opportunities for needs that the JRLA might have?
I think one of the main needs, if we have a lot of teachers in here that wanted to influence our students, would be tutoring. Because we're sending young people home with lessons at some point, like you did with your parents, that they can't help you with. And so any tutoring really helps. Any mentoring really helps, because young people need that guidance. They appreciate that support. So those would be probably the two main things.
Hey, Jalen. Thanks
Thank
again.
you for making sure I was good when I got here today.
You know, I got you, man. I got you. Yeah. Full service here. Thanks again for coming. You know, I read your book. It's awesome. I found very interesting the part where you often talk about, you know, growing up a have-not, and then slowly, you know, your eyes are opening to what's happening, what other people have. So, and you also, your school is a high school. You say that, you know, the 8 years from high school to college, those are probably the most important years of your life, where you become a man, a woman. You know, coming from an impoverished background myself, it's kind of easy to, once your eyes are open, to fall into like a nihilistic viewpoint. Like, there's no way I'm getting out here. What am I trying to say? As your school, like, how can you go about teaching young people to get out, not fall into that trap? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You got to be a leader and stop
Yeah.
making excuses.
Yeah.
Those two things go hand in hand. In my life, I try to divide things between reasons and excuses. Some things you can't control. Now, there is an inherent thing that finance creates that puts you in a position to where now you live in an impoverished neighborhood, which sends you to a poor performing school. Your parents probably don't have the jobs that they hope that they would have. They probably don't have the outlook that you would deem that's a normal background to raise young people to be successful. You have a lot of a lot of single parent homes. So at some point of your life, you have to start taking responsibility for you. And I think that really starts around 9th grade, because only so long you can blame your uncle, you can blame your mom, you can blame your circumstance when you have a chance now to fix your circumstance. And for young people, your report card is your paycheck while you're in high school. That's the equivalent to an adult working. You showing up at school every day, you're taking care of your lessons, you're taking care of your grades. Try to get you a summer job. Try to keep your nose clean. Surround yourself with responsible, disciplined people. So these are decisions you can make in 9th grade. I remember being in 9th grade, and all of those things were there. There were people smoking, there were people having sex, there were people drinking, there were all of those things happening. But at some point, you have to decide, is that going to take you away from your dreams or your goals? And when your goals become the most important thing, not to your mother or father, not to your coach or your mentor, but when your dreams become the most important thing to you, then to me, that puts you on a path to actually try to pursue them.
Well, we love that Jalen is taking us to overtime here today to demonstrate his passion for education in Southeastern Michigan. Jalen, again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you guys for having me.